Fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
It's been a long and very noticeable absence, but after a few months hiatus, Oceanic Dirt Sim Events is finally back, and we're so hyped for it here on SimSpeed TV. It's a pleasure for us to bring you the Australia-New Zealand 360 Sprint Car Championships presented by CM Cinematography and Sydney Computers. We're racing the 360 Sprint Cars on the iRacing service at Cedar Lake Speedway for the final day of competition in an event that's already had a preliminaries night a few nights ago. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me in the commentary box is Cameron Dance. Cam, the band's back together with Jay in the comms box, and, well, we're back into the swing of things at ODSE, and it's like we never left.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really, really good to be back and really good to see this league back in action. So looking forward to seeing what's going to happen this afternoon. There's a lot of good drivers here, a lot of good racing to be expected.
Absolutely. The heats and all of that were completed on Thursday night in the preliminary Group 1 A main. Josh Barry took victory, and in Group 2 it was Joel Berkeley. But we've got a C main, a B main, and an A main here, and you can see the format down there at the bottom left of your screen. Top 4 is once again the positions to really keep an eye on, and the starting positions, of course, determined by the heat results from Thursday night. So the drivers have already done quite a bit of racing here, Cam, as we check out Cedar Lake Speedway. And once again, every time we go here, I mention it, that pit lane, the entry up the top of turns 1 and 2, a very critical part of the track to get right, because the wall will absolutely screw you.
Yeah, we've seen it so many times over the time that this racetrack has been on the iRacing service, and we've seen it in numerous different events that drivers just getting a little bit too eager on the way down towards turn 1 with that outside wall and giving it a slight brush, and as a result ending up all the way down in that pit lane, which ends up a little bit of a disaster, unfortunately. So hopefully not too many casualties of that pit lane tonight, and hopefully we don't see too many cars end up parked down there as well from DNS.
Yes, indeed. This place is only 600 meters long, is Cedar Lake Speedway, and it's provided fantastic racing in ODSE events in the past, certainly quite a bit of controversy as well. Hopefully, we don't see much controversy tonight, as it seems the majority of the drivers have been very well behaved so far. So we'll get ready for the C main coming up very shortly. The drivers are currently out on track at the moment in the practice session beforehand, and the checkered flag has just flown, so we're going to be getting into racing action very shortly. I'm very hyped for this. Finally, we're back. Sprint cars on SimSpeed TV. It's going to be fast and frenetic. Here's the grid for the C main then. It is Riley Stewart and Glenn McLeod who share the first row of our 12-car grid. Glenn McLeod will have to be careful to react nicely to Riley Stewart's jump at the start. Stephen Haitley and Liam James on the second row, with Scott Reed and Luke Wilson rounding out the top 6. Then it's Travis Parrott, Ben Adamson, with Cooper Dunn and John Schultz rounding out the top 10. And the final row of our grid taken up by David Clifford and Nathan Norman. Now, what we usually do here, Cam, is we pick, we decide who's the general favourite to win. That seems to be a pattern that I've fallen into, at least. And looking at this grid, of course, Riley Stewart, Glenn McLeod and Stephen Haitley are very strong top 3. But we do have John Schultz and Nathan Norman starting down in the field, and we know that those guys can certainly make up positions.
Yeah, there's certainly a few drivers in here who are quite quick and unfortunately starting further down the field, like the likes of Schultz and Norman. The obvious two, and then you've got Cooper Dunn and a few others in the mix as well. So it's going to be a very, very fascinating race to see who's going to end up actually winning this. Not many cars to pass, but you have to get into those top 2 spots as the top 2 from this D main end up going through to the C main. So there's a lot of work ahead of them to get through, but they've still got 15 laps to do it.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately, we were originally scheduled to have a D main, even an E main, depending on numbers. But unfortunately, overnight, a lot of drivers have pulled out of the event, which has resulted in the D main being cancelled. So we just got C, B, and A mains here tonight. It's going to be short and sweet, as we expect from dirt events. We're going to get a start off here as the pace car pulls away. Riley Stewart goes early and has a massive lead as they come into turn 1 for the first time. Stephen Haitley moving up into second, but Glenn McLeod fighting back at him around the outside as there's massive jostling back in the pack, most of them forming into single file in the top 5. But it looks like there's a huge battle going on for Ben Adamson. He's facing off against John Schultz and Nathan Norman, who are trying to work their way forward.
Yeah, they certainly are. Schultz trying to use that bottom line, but it's not really working. He's just getting driven around by everybody who's using that slightly higher line to their advantage. Adamson trying to run right down on the tyres on the inside through 3 and 4 just doesn't quite get the drive off the corner, and he's going to possibly lose another spot to Nathan Norman, who's going to drive it around the outside on the way down the backstreet into 3 and 4. So that's going to be another position game, but it's still going on just for those final few transfer spots as well. Scott Reed's in the wall, just manages to hold on to it. No, he doesn't, and he's in the wall.
Yeah, tagging the wall on the outside, a little bit of extra clay available on the outside of turn 2, but the wall comes up very quickly, so Scott Reed's now fallen back to 11th position. That means Nathan Norman is on the verge of breaking into the top 4 here. He's got John Schultz right on him, but Glenn McLeod is the one fending them all off. Still in the lead is Stephen Haitley now, and Riley Stewart. Stewart's actually incredibly far ahead of everyone else now as we come around to start lap 8. It's been a brilliant drive from the 027 so far, and Stephen Haitley seems pretty safe in second, but third on back. Oh my goodness, look at that side-by-side running. Nathan Norman gets the slide job done on Glenn McLeod, slots in front of him, but McLeod will respond at turn 3. The battle for this final transfer spot, right on.
Yeah, it certainly is right on. McLeod's nearly hit the nose of Ben Edison's chopped off, but luckily managing to just hold on to his contact further back in the field, and caution is out.
Oh man, there we go. We got cautions in the C and B mains here as the drivers try their best to get going here. That's a big shame there for those drivers. Pace car will be out and we get a brief pause in racing activity, and laps are not counted under caution, so the drivers will have a little bit extra to go. Here's the virtual racing school replay. Cooper Dunn, basically the car that caused the incident, just trying to send it on the inside of David Clifford there. They came together and Clifford getting sent up into the wall. Huge incident there.
Yeah, certainly both cars very, very damaged as a result of that. Not what they wanted at all. So I'd say it's going to be an early finish for them, unfortunately, with the damage that they will have sustained in that crash. But Riley Stewart, though, has done an absolutely excellent job so far to be just checking out from the entire field, led every single lap so far. So he's probably going to be the favourite to win this. But that second place fight is certainly going to be well and truly on off this restart with only a handful of laps to go as well.
Yeah, this is going to be critical here. Riley Stewart's going to have to nail the restart once again. This is going to be a very difficult restart for everyone behind him as well. The restarts are single file. Pace car pulls away. When does Riley Stewart decide to go? Down there in the restart zone at the light pole in turns 3 and 4. They get off to a good start here. It is on for second. Stephen Haitley almost losing it to Luke Wilson. Nathan Norman has made it up into 4th, but he's getting pressured by Glenn McLeod. He wants that spot back. Luke Wilson on the inside now of Stephen Haitley is into the wall. We've got a car in the wall. That was John Schultz, and taken with him David Clifford again. It looks like the caution might be out again. He's on his side. And yeah, it looks like the caution has been called for that one. David Clifford not having a good run tonight.
Yeah, certainly not having a good run at all. Second incident in just the one race, and not of his own fault either. Just had nowhere to go with Schultz ending up in that outside wall. The VRS Virtual Racing School replay is going to show us exactly what has happened as Schultz comes on through 3 and 4 and then up towards turns 1 and 2, and just getting a little bit too eager with the car in front, just clipping the rear wheel, and unfortunately spat straight into the wall, and Clifford nowhere really to go and ending up in the wall with a massive impact.
Yeah, that's a big shame, and you can see that John Schultz has enough damage that he's got a bit of crabbing going on that car. Looks like it should still be in good enough shape to get to the finish, but getting sent to the end of the line for causing the caution. John Schultz probably going to miss out on this night before it's even really begun for him. And I keep saying night, but I really should say afternoon. It is definitely in the daylight here in Australia, certainly in virtual Cedar Lake as well. We're usually used to having these events run in the evening, but final green flag, we hope, of the C main here. Riley Stewart gets off to a good start. Stephen Haitley holds on, but a big double slide job there from Nathan Norman and Luke Wilson. 3 wide, and Wilson and Haitley come together. Haitley into the wall, and oh man, caution again after less than a lap of racing. And we will try here for a green-white checkered finish. It's the final caution where we'll try, so the drivers had better hope that no one else comes together so that everyone can get to the finish in one piece as we take a look at the replay here. Haitley minding his own business on the high side of the track. I don't think he was expecting 2 cars at once to go for that slide job, and really, Cedar Lake Speedway, a pretty wide track, but you won't be able to fit 3 wide out of turn 1 in those circumstances.
Yeah, certainly not what either of those drivers will have hoped for, especially Wilson, who got pretty much squeezed between the two of them. Unfortunately, Haitley was the one who got put in the fence as a result. Looked like it was just very, very slight contact between Wilson and Norman as well. So very, very unfortunate that 2 drivers come off second best in that one.
Yeah, indeed. And Stephen Haitley, I think, will be ruining that because he was in a proper box seat position to transfer through to the further events coming up tonight, but he's going to have to settle for less than that. Looks like he's in the pits at the moment with John Schultz and David Clifford. Our retirements from this one so far. Okay, let's see if this is the final restart. Riley Stewart manages to keep Luke Wilson and Nathan Norman behind him as they go through turns 1 and 2. Have a look at Glenn McLeod scything round the outside of Ben Adamson to try and keep that 4th place. It's still under threat, as now we have 2 laps to go for Riley Stewart up the front of the field. Can he hold off the advances of everyone else? Looks like he's doing a good job of it. But it looks to me like that is the end of the race there. Riley Stewart taking victory from Luke Wilson with Nathan Norman and Glenn McLeod rounding out the top 4. They will all transfer through to the B main.
Yes, so managed to make it on through. Norman actually did it with what was a very not too good looking car as well. He had a bit of crabbing going on, so he's done very, very well to end up in the transfer spots. But that was a very, very dramatic consolation race there, and it's only going to get better with this next B main.
Yeah, absolutely is. So ultimately, there you go, your top 12, Stewart, Wilson, Norman and McLeod, with Norman making his way through from 12th. We're going to step aside very briefly here on SimSpeed TV once we check out these race results. Ben Adamson just missing out by 0.2 of a second, and that's how the field ended up finishing with 9 cars taking the checkered flag. Stephen Haitley, David Clifford and John Schultz, your retirements from this one, and I think all 3 of them had great potential to move on tonight. But we're going to go on a quick break here on SimSpeed TV. The B main for the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Australian 360 Sprint Car Championships coming up very shortly.
here. iRacing, Climb to the Clouds, Mount Washington Hill Climb, available now. Check it out.
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. Feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
You're watching the Australia-New Zealand 360 Sprint Car Championships from Cedar Lake Speedway for 2021, presented by CM Cinematography and Sydney Computers. This is going to be fantastic. It already has been fantastic. We've just seen the C-Main, a scintillating race with a few cautions along the way, with Riley Stewart coming home with victory there. He, along with Luke Wilson, Nathan Norman and Glenn McLeod, move forward into this race, the B-Main. And this is where things get a little bit more difficult to get into that top four so you can transfer through to the A main. It's the same as before, the top four advance, so we'll be checking out that fourth place in this race and see if they can hold off the advances of everyone behind them to try and go a step further in this very grueling and difficult event. If you're just joining us, I'm Reese Gardner and Cameron Dance alongside me with Jay Kennedy producing. Cam, this track already showing that, like usual, it throws up quite a few surprises.
Yeah, it certainly has thrown up quite a few surprises so far, and a little bit of a carnage, unfortunately, in the last C main that we saw. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in this B main. A few more quicker drivers in this one compared to what we saw in the C main, so it's going to be a lot harder, like you said, for those that have transferred through from the C main to get their way into the B main and also into that A main, or the top four, I should say, in the A main, B main, so they can get through to the A main. So we'll see what's going to happen, but there's a lot of quick drivers in this one.
Yeah, certainly are. We're looking at them in the warm-up now. The track is clean, so it's going to be roughly the same, well, maybe not the same story as the C main, but certainly the drivers will be able to push a little more here on the clean surface, and many drivers prefer it when the track is worn in a little bit. It allows them to feel where the grip is a bit better, but everyone just trying their best to eke out something resembling a groove on this surface at the moment. We've got 4 minutes left until we advance through to the actual race, so we've got a bit of time to check out who is active in this session. Of course, we've got Riley Stewart, Luke Wilson, Nathan Norman and Glenn McLeod joining the grid, but we've also got the likes of Vince Romeo, Hayden Veld, Max Lumsden, Alex Attard, Trent Gosley, and Paul Bryan as well. Many drivers that I recognise from past Oceanic Dirt Sim events. Cameron De Bruin as well. There's a lot of quick drivers in this session, but the ones that jump out to me are the likes of Attard and Gosley.
Yeah, and Hardigan as well. Usually we've seen him up the pointy end of the dirt stuff in ODSE or various other dirt events as well. So very, very surprising that he's actually in the B main here rather than has auto transferred to the A main. So we'll see what's going to happen with it, where he starts and what may entail in this constellation race. But yeah, certainly a number of quick drivers in this one that you would typically think would be auto transferring from the preliminary nights into the A main.
Yeah, a lot of drivers did not have the best of nights on Thursday, so they got a little bit more work to do to try and get themselves into the A main here, and the stakes are raised because it is only the top 4 that transfer through. So out of all the drivers that we've just been talking about, at least a few of them are going to miss out on the A main here today. And already seeing a groove forming there out on track. The initial layer of packed clay has been cast off, and now we're starting to see where the drivers believe the grip is.
Yeah, absolutely. You're starting to see a little bit of a more user-friendly line, I guess you could say, for the guys that are running that top side, with the fact that that lower side is starting to not quite be as fresh in the rest of the track as well. So starting to see a little bit of slick on the way into turns 1 and 3 as well. So track's starting to get worn a bit and starting to provide what's going to be hopefully some really, really good racing lines.
Absolutely. And the way that you race these cars is a bit different as well. We are running the 360 sprint cars. That is to say, they have a 360 cubic inch V8 in the front of the vehicle, as we hope that there's no incidents like that in the B main. Riley Stewart just escaping by a whisker there. But Cam, you're experienced in dirt sprint car racing. You competed in the World of Outlaws Sprint Car World Championship here on iRacing. How does the 360 compare to something like a 410 sprint car, which is more powerful?
Well, it's not quite like it's slow motion, but it's not as quick, that's for sure, with the fact you don't have all that horsepower. It's obviously a lot easier to drive as a result of the lack of horsepower, because you're able to throw it through the slick and all that sort of stuff and drive it a little bit easier, not have to worry about being super careful on the throttle in the slick conditions. But it's one of those cars that if you don't keep the momentum up, you're really going to struggle as a result of that lack of horsepower. So it really does help to make sure that you're keeping up that momentum and making sure you're not losing it too much if you are doing stuff like throwing slide jobs or running lower down on the bottom.
You get it straight from the horse's mouth there. A seasoned competitor in these events, Cam is. certainly had his fair
10
share
seconds.
of success as well. We got 10 seconds left until we go through into the race session, and we can take you through the grid for this B main here at Cedar Lake Speedway. Barney watching proceedings, and there we go. Checkered flag flying at virtual Cedar Lake. Let's see then who can come away the best in this 20-lap B main. Starting off the front row, it's going to be Cooper Wilson and the number 14, starting alongside Daniel Hartigan, number 83. Cameron De Bruin and Alex Attard taking up third and fourth, with Max Lumsden and Vince Romeo rounding out the top 6. It's Jamie Budd and Hayden Veld on the fourth row, with the top 10 rounded out by Brent Hobbs and Braden Moroski. Trent Gosley starting outside the top 10. That's something that we don't usually see from Trent. Had a bad night on Thursday. Thomas Mitchell and Paul Bryan with Chris Nankerville in positions 12 to 14, with the field rounded out by our top 4 from the previous race: Stewart, Wilson, Norman and McLeod. There's a few more cars here in the B main camp. Track's a little bit more cramped, a little bit more of a hazard for the drivers to navigate.
Yeah, and 5 extra laps to get the job done as well. So while it was shorter in the previous race for those top 4, they've at least got another extra 5 laps to get some moves done and move it their way on it through this field to get into those transfer spots for the A main. So we'll see what they can do, but there is certainly a number of quick drivers in this one who aren't going to let it go easily.
Absolutely. With Wilson and Hartigan there on the front row, I'm expecting that battle to be very tight between the two of them, but we will have to keep an eye out for the likes of Trent Gosley potentially making their way through the field as long as everyone keeps it clean. We've seen that the midfield in these events so far is a little bit of a minefield. Let's see what they can do. Cooper Wilson controls the field as the pace car pulls away. They're in the restart zone, and away they go. Wilson gets the jump over Daniel Hartigan, and they pile into turn 1. Cameron De Bruin sticking to the inside to try and get a run on Alex Attard, but it's not working. Attard with the outside has the momentum. Max Lumsden pressuring them for the top 4 transfer spot, as well as I'm noticing Trent Gosley. He's lost a couple of positions, and actually Riley Stewart falling down the order. So caution is out, and oh boy, I don't think Riley Stewart's going to be too happy with how that's turned out. Neither will Thomas Mitchell. Let's see then, as Luke Wilson and Chris Nankerville are in the pits, what on earth happened here to Riley Wilson?
Yeah, and a few others involved in it as well. Nankerville, Mitchell, and also Luke Wilson, and they've all just sort of come together down the back straight. And obviously there's been a bit of a check in front of them as well, with a few others bumping and barging. Nathan Norman also involved not too far ahead of them as well. So there's been a little bit of drama there, unfortunately, for a number of drivers.
Yeah, it looked like 3 drivers going into 1 coming into turn 3. So tough times on the opening laps with everyone trying to stake their claim for these positions. It obviously has not worked out fantastically for many drivers in the midfield, but it's still Cooper Wilson who leads the way from Daniel Hartigan, Cameron De Bruin in 3rd, and basically the I'm looking at this field, and it seems that they're mostly in the same positions they started in, as it's green flag once again. Cooper Wilson leads the way from Daniel Hartigan. Had a car in the wall briefly. Trent Gosley, he's running the high line trying to get that run, and dear me, Jamie Budd getting into the wall on the outside of turns 3 and 4 as well. Not having the greatest of times there in the number 180, and Gosley's having trouble finding his way past him, as to the inside, the likes of Paul Bryan and Hayden Veld, with also working the bottom, the number 13 of Cameron De Bruin. Oh, have a look at Daniel Hartigan getting the run around the outside on Cooper Wilson. He's going to secure the lead of the B main here at the start of lap 5.
And that was very close. I thought he was going to get tipped in a little bit with the fact he chopped the nose off of Cooper Wilson on the way into 1, but managed to just get on by, luckily. But here comes Alex Attard around the outside of Wilson like he's standing still. Nothing can stop that man at the moment, and Attard looking to try and get on by Hartigan as well. He was a little bit quicker that last lap, so fully expect this battle for the lead is going to turn very, very spicy very quickly.
Absolutely. They're side by side coming out of turn 4, and Alex Attard will try and find a way through on Hardigan here if he can get the power down off of turn 2. Hardigan going defensive to the inside. They both follow the same rough trajectory. It's going to give a slight advantage back to Cooper Wilson, but doesn't seem like he's making much of an impression here on the top 3. He does get a good exit out of turn 2, but Hardigan and Attard more concerned with each other at the moment. As into turn 1, they come again. Oh no, Cooper Wilson around, but it looks like we stay green. He's lost many positions there, out of the top 4 now, in fact down to 7th, and battling with the likes of Nathan Norman as there's a spinner on the front stretch. Brent Hobbs getting into the wall, and the caution has come out for that, and it looks to me like it was contact with Vince Romeo that ended up starting that. If we can get it on the Virtual Racing School replay, you'll see that Romeo kind of came down slightly in turn 4 as Brent Hobbs was going up the track, and they just made contact, and Brent Hobbs was knocked sideways. There is the incident right there, and goodness me, the number 4 of Trent Gosley just getting away with it too. Slight contact.
Yeah, it just sort of looked like Romeo was trying to square the corner off a little bit, or diamond it off a little bit on the exit of 4, and just unfortunately didn't quite expect Brent to end up being there. So unfortunately Hobbs to the back of the field. I'd say Romeo may be given an end of line for that incident, but we'll wait and see what race control is gonna do.
Yes, well, Braden Maroska already given an end-of-line penalty for the previous restart for that incident that we saw that brought out the first caution, and it looks like prediction is correct. Vince Romeo given an end-of-line penalty for causing that caution, and restarts have been changed to single file once again. We're trying to minimise the amount of chaos that takes place on the starts in these races. It's Hardigan from Attard, from Lumsden, from De Bruin, your top 4. Everyone behind them looking to try and break in. And remember, the top 4 here in the B main will transfer through to the A main. Everyone else goes home. As the green flag flies again, Daniel Hardigan gets a good start, but immediately to the inside goes Max Lumsden to try and get a leg up on Alex Attard. It hasn't worked out for him. He's going to have to start worrying about Cameron De Bruin here. Lumsden's car looks very comfortable there on the slicker clay. He's just trying to find a little bit of rougher stuff there, and he's gotten a bit of a move done there on Alex Attard. They make contact, and Lumsden is through. Just a little coming together down the back straight, but tell you what, that's given a good advantage to De Bruin. Up into 4th is Alex Attard once again, keeping Paul Bryan behind for the time being. It's going to be between them for the final transfer spot. But Max Lumsden is going to be worried about 2nd here. Cameron De Bruin, well, just as I say that, De Bruin didn't get the best exit from turn 2, and now he's allowed Alex Attard back into the fold as it's nearly 4 wide behind. Oh my goodness. Take it easy, boys. Number 53 now down into 6th, Hayden Veld. Goodness me. This is fantastic racing that we're seeing at the moment. Alex Attard doing very well to try and keep Paul Bryan behind him, but this top 4, my goodness, it is mind-blowing as there's only 2 laps to go.
Yeah, so I got away with that, and very, very luckily did actually hit the wall reasonably hard as the caution has been called for an incident on the back straight involving Trent Gosley and Cooper Wilson involved as well.
Oh no, so one of the drivers that we thought would make their way through the field, and one of the guys that will actually our pole sitter as well as Cooper Wilson. So what on earth happened to them here? Let's take a look. Cooper Wilson running the high line, and he was behind Hayden Veld there. And oh yeah, there we go. The top wall in turns 1 and 2. Trent Gosley didn't have anywhere to go there once Cooper Wilson was up in the air. And that's what we gotta be careful of here at Cedar Lake, Cam, is that wall on the outside of 1 and 2. It's very difficult to pick your turn in because the wall juts out a little bit.
Yeah, it certainly does, but it's very, very inviting to run up there when you know it's as quick as it is. Green flag is back in the air, and we'll see what's going to happen for this final transfer spot battle, because everybody is bunched together and everybody is wanting a piece of it. Oh, it's contact between Hayden Veld, and I think that was Paul Bryan as well.
Yeah, well, it's on for third and fourth between Cameron De Bruin and Alex Attard as usual, but this pack of drivers all trying to pick their way into it. Paul Bryan and Hayden Veld side by side, but looks like Bryan getting the run on the entry. Veld, though, sticking it to the outside. Nathan Norman looking to try and go with him, as that is the finish right there. My goodness, what a finish for that fifth place on back. You see how close they are on the timing tower, but it does seem to me that Daniel Hardigan winning by 4/10 from Max Lumsden, with Alex Attard and Cameron De Bruin rounding out the top four. No green-white checkered this time round, but we had a really good race there in the C main, Cam. We do have a replay coming up as we check out the rest of our results. Braden Moroska and Thomas Mitchell, your last cars to finish on the lead lap, and into retirement territory, Wilson, Gosley, Romeo, Budd, Nankiville, and Wilson. Very unfortunate for a lot of drivers in that session. We are going to get the virtual racing school replay, because Jay was mentioning something about a driver getting away with an incident. This is Attard, and goodness me, he actually clipped the tyres at pit entry, and he managed to hold on to it. Usually, Cam, when we see a driver do that, they're out.
Yeah, they got very, very lucky there to not end up coming off much worse than that, and it could have very easily come off much worse than that as well if he had hit it just a little bit harder on a slightly different angle. So got away with that one, luckily, and managed to end up bringing it home in P3 as well. So he's in the transfer and he's into the A main at least.
And speaking of the A main, we are going to have it coming up very shortly for you. You're watching the 360 Sprint Car Championship, presented by Oceanic Dirt Sim Events, here on SimSpeed TV.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got really outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh
him.
my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
It's very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go.
Oh no.
That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
You're watching the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events Australian 360 Sprint Car Championships. This is going to be an absolutely fantastic conclusion to the night. We've got the A main coming up for you very shortly. 40 laps around Cedar Lake Speedway. A big thanks once again to CM Cinematography and Disney Computers. This is a great event to throw your support behind the return of Oceanic Dirt Sim Events to SimSpeed broadcasts after a while under the radar. My name's Reese Gardner and Cameron Dance is alongside me. As you can see, Jay Kennedy on production, bringing these beautiful images to you. So, Cam, this is where it all comes down to the nitty-gritty, or the clay, I guess you could say. Because we've got our top four from the B main in this session. The likes of Daniel Hardigan, Max Lumsden, Cameron De Bruin as well. And we've got the heavy hitters from our first night of the event on Thursday. Got the likes of Josh Barry, Joel Berkeley, Clayton Davies, Braden Miller, Harry Stewart, Brad O'Brien competing in this race. And it's going to be a tough job to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's a lot of quick drivers here and a lot of drivers here who are going to want that top step on the podium and going to want to park that thing in victory lane. So it's going to be very, very exciting to say the least. And I think we're going to be on for some very, very cool racing.
Indeed, we are. This is a very colourful field of drivers making their way out onto the circuit for this initial warm-up before we get off to a start for 40 laps. And it seems that cautions are the big theme of the night once again here, Cam. We have had at least 2 cautions in every race so far tonight. And with 40 laps of race length in this one, I'm expecting at least 2 once again.
Yeah, I'd say we're probably going to get somewhere between 2 and probably, I'd say 5, I'd say, roughly, on my experience with these guys and what we've seen in previous broadcasts. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't get more than 5, but we'll have to wait and see.
Everyone waiting with bated breath at pit exit to start the warm-up, and they are away. Beautiful shot coming out onto this brilliant track. A high-banked oval, and oh dear, a couple of drivers having a couple of issues, making their way out onto the racetrack, but here we are, a nice, fresh Cedar Lake Speedway. The drivers will wear it in a little bit before the start of the A main, and surely we're going to be seeing quite the groove forming by the end of the race as we see times starting to be put in. Joel Berkeley to the top of the session, where we would more or less expect him. Joel Berkeley coming away with the A main win in the preliminary Group 2 on Thursday night. He's well placed to take advantage here.
Yeah, he certainly is very, very well placed here to be probably one of the favourites and more than likely going to win this thing if he can keep his head down, build a bit of a gap and carry on his way to the checkered flag. But there is, again, a lot of drivers who are going to be eyeing for that top spot and are going to try and challenge him as best as they can.
Well, Braden Miller's already started that. He's taken the fast time there by a 10th from Joel Berkeley. Harry Stewart up to P3. Clayton Davies moves up to P9 and Joseph Daly to 11th. So all the drivers just feeling their way around the track at the moment, getting it into a state where they think they'll be able to race properly, take advantage of the setups of their cars. As I mentioned before, a lot of dirt drivers don't like racing on fully clean tracks. They do like to have a bit of a groove formed to give everyone a bit of a chance to make their way up the inside, maybe even around the outside, depending on how the night's gone so far. The outside line, definitely the place to be here at Cedar Lake.
Yeah, especially in these 360 sprint cars, with the fact that you're trying to keep the momentum up as best as you possibly can across every single lap so that you don't fall back or end up in a little bit of strife with the lack of momentum on your side. But it's certainly going to be very, very fascinating to see what this track's going to look like come at the end of this 40-lap A main that we've got ahead of us.
Yep, that's the format for the night. We've already completed the C main, the B main, and of course the heats were on Thursday. Now all we've got left to go is the A main. Everyone who managed to finish the preliminary A mains in groups 1 and 2 on Thursday, plus the top 4 from the B main tonight, will all be taking to the grid here. And it's looking like quite the field. 24 cars currently in the session. That's about what we expect here for Oceanic Dirt Sim events. 24 generally the amount of cars that we see in an A main, but at a track like Cedar Lake, again only 600 meters long, they're going to be packed like sardines out there.
Yeah, they absolutely are. It's going to be very, very close and very, very packed out there. Not going to be much room to navigate around and work yourself into a nice, clean air position with the fact you have so many cars around you. Trying to get their own little bit of racetrack and real estate as well. Trying to find that little bit of extra clean clay instead of something that's going to be a little bit more worn like you might find either side of the race car. But we'll see who ends up doing what. The track already starting to show a little bit of signs of wear as it's a car up in the wall and nearly wiping out the cameraman.
Oh my god, I think we're going to be seeing that more than once before the night ends. It looks like the checkered flag has been called on this session. Everyone going in to the pits, and we're going to get ready now to go through a very short driver's briefing, I believe, given the fact that Alex Attard has typed shush in all caps in the InSim text chat. So driver's just taking a little bit of a break there to listen to race director Brady Baldwin. He's going to tell them how this is going to be conducted, what he expects of the drivers, and all that entails. Seems to me that this is going to be an incredibly tight competition, and after the incidents that we've seen in the C and B mains, Cam, these drivers certainly getting the law handed down to them, because I think maybe there's been a few too many crashes for some people's liking tonight.
Yeah, there has been a few incidents, unfortunately, so far tonight in the C and B mains, and some of them just really, really silly or just really unfortunate incidents that more or less probably shouldn't be happening. So hopefully everybody cleans things up in this A main and we don't see too much drama.
Yeah, hoping the same as well. So then, the tranquil fountain at Cedar Lake. As we check out the practice results, the track falls silent for the time being. Joel Berkeley put down to 3rd place. We got 20 seconds left before we go through the race grid, but that is the top 10 in practice. As you can see, the time's ridiculously close. Everyone's going to be vying for that top position in the A main. The winner of this race is going to be crowned the 360 Sprintcar Champion for 2021. But in a 410 sense, they'll have another opportunity. Brady Baldwin wants to run a 410 Sprint Car Championships event before the end of the year. Either way, here's the grid. It is Clayton Davies who starts on pole position alongside Joel Berkeley, Josh Barry and Brad O'Brien on row 2 with Braden Miller and Braden Shute. The two Bradens rounding out the top 6. 7th and 8th is going to be Hayden Vickers and Harry Stewart with Darcy Wilson and Joseph Daly rounding out the top 10. And the two Synergy boys, Jaden Russell and Brenton Hobson, rounding out the top 12, Cam.
Then you're going to have it just behind the two Synergy cars in 13th and 14th, Lachlan Barbary and Dylan DeBono on row 7. Row 8 is going to consist of Clayton Tilley and Tyler Bish in 15th and 16th. Daniel Boyd and Blake Walsh going to be on row 9 with Luke Payton and Daniel Hardigan, rounding out the top 20 with Hardigan being the first driver of our transfers from the B main. Then you go back to Lumsden, Attard, De Bruin and Veld to round out the 24 car field and those who have transferred from the B main.
All right, so we have a field for the A main. And the track looks to be worn in quite nicely. A couple of clouds blocking the light of the sun Maybe that will cool the track down ever so slightly and give the drivers a little bit more grip to work with. That said, the track is 18 degrees in temperature, so remains to be seen how the drivers are going to cope with that. The dirt cars on iRacing, the sprint cars at least, have a brand new version of the tyre model on them, so the drivers have been trying to work that out as we have our 4 wide salute. Always great to see gestures like this, getting an opportunity to see our full field of colourful striking sprint cars.
Yeah, it's always really, really cool to see any sort of dirt cars doing a 4 wide salute, and you can see all the various different colours and team liveries out there and all the drivers getting it ready to go racing and showing off all that paintwork and time that they've put into liveries.
All right, everyone's speeding up then. The 1 lap 4 wide salute over and done with, and now the drivers can switch their minds to racing action. Very striking front row there with Clayton Davies and Joel Berkeley on the front row. They've got at least another lap to go here before we go into green flag conditions. And I wouldn't put it past Joel Berkeley to really give Clayton Davies a run for his money here. Berkeley's not going to have the advantage on the start. It is Davies who's going to control it, but he's going to be right on the back of the number 50. Berkeley has won many, many events here in ODSE, probably their most successful driver, along with the likes of Tim Ryan. So let's see what they can do as we have at least one more lap to go here under safety car conditions. It will be green this time around, so Cam, it's all going to be down to what Clayton Davies can do off the line.
Yeah, when he's going to decide to go is going to be very, very important to see what he's going to have to do on the way into turn 1. Is he going to go early? Is he going to go late? Is he going to make Joel Berkeley possibly try and jump the start a little bit? We'll wait and see. But as I come through turns 3 and 4, green flags in the air, and we're underway for the 40-lap feature with a very, very good start from your pole sitter, Clayton Davies.
Yeah, and round the outside of Joel Berkeley and Josh Barry, he goes into the lead as it's all on behind. A very close field here, but already we've got 2 cars coming together. Brad O'Brien and the number 2. That's who was the number 2 in that circumstance there?
Braden
a big
Miller.
Coming together. Braden Miller was the car involved in that, along with Brad O'Brien. It's a big shame there for both of them. They did very well in the preliminaries. And as we check out the virtual racing school replay, O'Brien on the outside actually got checked up a little bit by Josh Barry, as you'll see here. Barry in the blue and black, and then, well, Braden Miller didn't have many places to go there with that checkup from O'Brien ahead. That said, I get the feeling that Miller's going to get an end-of-line penalty because he was the one who made the contact that started the caution.
Yeah, I'd say there's probably going to be an end-of-line penalty coming his way, and it's not going to be what he will have wanted to start this race off. Nor will Brad O'Brien will be wanting to start this race either. He's now all the way down at the tail end of the field, so he's got a lot of cars to pass if he wants to get back to that front.
Yeah, and you can see he's also dealing with a little bit of, I think the chassis got a bit bent in that hit, so the car's looking a little wayward for Brad O'Brien. Let's see then what they can do up the front as they reform 2x2. They're not making restarts single file just yet. Oceanic Dirt Sim Events rulebook does state that restarts will only be made single file if there are back-to-back cautions or if there is a caution in the final 10 laps. We're green once again, and Clayton Davies gets a good start from Joel Berkeley with Josh Barry pressuring business as usual in the top 3. But have a look at Braden Miller. Oh, after that contact. Unfortunately for the likes of Brad O'Brien, it seems like Miller has not been penalised for that contact as the caution is back out once again. So it looks like we're going to get single file restarts from here on out. And the number 13 there of Cameron De Bruin apparently involved in that incident. We'll check. Well, we're not too sure what's going on there back in the field, but we're going to try our best to decode it for you. Oh dear, looked like there was an incident down on the bottom there. The number 41 of Tyler Bish involved with, I think that's Hayden Bell.
Blake Walsh actually, they just came
Blake
together
Walsh.
by the looks of it on the exit of turn 2. Not Wouldn't have thought that wouldn't have been a caution considering they were both continuing along, but yeah, that's just really, really unfortunate between those two. Gotta see what's going to actually happen here on the Virtual Racing School replays that come on the way through turns 1 and 2, and you see they just all come together, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame there. It looks like Blake Walsh maybe being a bit aggressive on the inside, got on the throttle, and the weight transferred off the fronts. He couldn't quite steer it away from Tyler Bish. No penalties have been awarded to drivers so far, so race control being a little more lenient, I think, with some of these incidents in the opening laps, but I'm sure if it continues like this, then penalties will start to be handed out. But that sort of thought won't be troubling Clayton Davies and Joel Berkeley at the front of this field. They've been pretty much untroubled, and Davies puts the power down once again in the restart zone, and we go green on lap 5 here at Cedar Lake. Berkeley switches to the inside. He's going to try a bit of another strategy here to get by Clayton Davies, using that strip of fresh clay all the way on the inside. Davies is going to get the run on the outside thanks to the banking and the higher speed maintained, but Berkeley manages to get it done, and he is in the lead of Cedar Lake A main. Josh Barry under threat for third. It's a two-pronged attack from Harry Stewart and Braden Miller. They've also got Harry Stewart to deal with there as the caution is back out. We've had an incident further back in the field, and that's the number 88 of Brenton Hobson. It looks like Jaden Russell on his roof as well.
Yeah, and Joseph Daly in there as well. So something's happened in that mid-pack, actually, and it's a very, very big incident. We'll see it on the Virtual Racing School replay very, very shortly. It happens in about a lap time from where the replay starts, but you'll see just up the road, Joe Daly is about to get a little bit loose, a little bit of contact, then everybody with nowhere to go, and everybody just plows in.
Oh my goodness, yeah, Jaden Russell wouldn't have had much time to react to that. Fortunately, these sprint cars are built like tanks, so not race-ending damage for a lot of them, but it does look to me like Joseph Daly, Jaden Russell, and Daniel Hardigan are now out. Jaden Russell is still in the car, but definitely going to be in the pits, and once you go into the pits, I don't think you're really allowed to come out in these events. It's a big shame for the likes of Daniel Hardigan. He was certainly in with a shot at winning this thing. Same could be said for Jaden Russell. He's put in some great dirt drives over the last couple of years, but just a very unfortunate set of circumstances there as we gear up for the next green flag. Pace car going into the pits as the field starts behind them, and it's pretty even between Joel Berkeley and Clayton Davies, but Barry, Stewart, and Miller trying their best. Oh my goodness. Wow. How was that from Clayton Davies? The mother of all slide jobs. It unfortunately didn't work for him, but he's kept that pursuing pack behind, and now it's just him and Berkeley at the front. Berkeley defensive to the inside. He doesn't want Clayton Davies to get the slide job on him.
Yeah, very, very defensive driving there from Berkeley, knowing that the slide job was probably going to happen again. But again, Davies with a very, very good run out of turn 2, using that slightly higher line than what Berkeley is. He's running the bottom at the moment very comfortably, not really worrying too much. But now he's gone back to the top to try and avoid being run over again. But we'll see what's going to happen behind as it's all on between Barry Stewart and Wilson. Nearly 3 wide on the exit of turns 4. Why don't you? But all going to slot in behind, and that's going to be a very, very good move from Darcy Wilson there.
Indeed, it's tight between Braden Shute and Braden Miller, as well as that's a mistake from Clayton Davies as the field is starting to come up now on a little bit of traffic, and hearing that the caution is out once more. Been an incident further back in the field, and that's the number 11 of Harry Stewart. Not looking too great there, getting up to speed once more. What has happened here to the New Zealander, Harry Stewart?
Yeah, looks like he's clipped the front straight wall on the exit of 1 on the way down towards turns 1, and then just, unfortunately, everybody's sort of piled in with the fact he's trying to keep it out of the wall, and everybody else just nowhere to go, really, unfortunately. Wilson, and also I think that was Barry involved in that.
Yeah, it looked to me like Wilson had already committed to the corner at that point. I don't know what more Darcy could have done there, but certainly Harry Stewart will be ruining that. It was a mistake that he made all on his own, and it's a mistake that a lot of drivers tend to make on their own here at Cedar Lake. Pace car pulling in. It's a single file restart here on lap 13 of 40, starting lap 14 as everyone tries to run the outside line, but a few of them feeding the right rear into the wall. Berkeley versus Davies at the front. These guys have not left each other alone, and it looks like the caution flag is back out again. That's the number 47 of Lachlan Barberry, missing his front wing. Something's gone very wrong in the midfield. We'll check it out on the virtual racing school replay. Seems that these incidents are happening very quickly, and Barberry's been given an end-of-line penalty. That's the reason why. My goodness, just getting into the wall by himself and then spinning around and blocking the track for a few drivers down the line. Fortunately, again, it doesn't seem like there's race-ending damage for any of those cars, but my goodness, it's not exactly what we want to see. We're not getting much racing here so far.
Yeah, we certainly aren't. There's been quite a few cautions so far in these opening laps in this opening stanza of this race so far. It's been a very, very cruisy start, though, for the likes of Joel Berkeley and our front runners, but it's been very, very messy in that mid-pack. We're back under green, though, with a very, very wobbly start from Joel Berkeley off turns 4, but everybody managing to make their way through 1 and 2 cleanly.
So the top 4 trying their best to fall into line here, as that's another slight loss of momentum from Clayton Davies, opening himself up to an attack from Braden Shute. This is going to happen here. Braden Shute, one of the star competitors here who's been threatening to win for a while. But on the back of Davies and Berkeley, he's just feeding the right rear to the wall again, pushing the limits massively as the top 2 seem to be using the middle of the circuit there on the run into the turns. Running nice and high through turns 1 and 2. It's calmed down a bit here at the front. Braden Shute harassing at the back of Clayton Davies like there is no tomorrow. Braden Miller trying to hold off P4 from Darcy Wilson. It's on for 6th as well between Hayden Vickers and Josh Barry. Running very close here. You see them coming through turns 3 and 4. They've got to worry about the recovering Daniel Boyd here as well. Boyd started in 17th, now up to 8th. There's, Vickers side by side again with Josh Barry, and they just make side-to-side contact. Very tough racing here in the midfield. Miller and Wilson just up ahead. They almost came together as well. Darcy Wilson starting to fall off the back here of the likes of Braden Shute. Braden Miller hitting the wall again. You know, those rear axles must be incredibly tough.
Yeah, past halfway, but we've just said that, and we've got a caution again, and someone upside down on out of turn 2. Hayden Veld, unfortunately, is, I'd imagine, found the wall.
Yes, and it looks to me like, well, he did have a car with him, but he did do that by himself. Just went a bit too sideways and a bit too high into turn 1. He was, I think, probably thinking about Tyler Bish on his inside. So, unfortunate there for Hayden. He becomes the next retirement from this race. He joins Lachlan Barberry, Harry Stewart, Clayton Tilley, Jaden Russell, Joseph Daly, and Daniel Hartigan as the drivers out of this race. We still have 17 cars left in this session as the pace car pulls away. Joel Berkeley enters the restart zone, and everyone stays with him as we go green again here at Cedar Lake. 19 laps now, 18 laps to go, and Berkeley holding on nicely from Clayton Davies, who will be desperate to try and find a way back past.
Yeah, he certainly will be trying to find a way back past, but when it's going to happen, it's going to be a very, very long road, as Berkeley is not going to make it easy for him at all. Davies with a few technical issues there by the looks of it, but managing to sort it out finally. Just in behind, though, it's all on for that final spot on at the podium between Wilson and Shute, who are pressuring the back of Davies and staying with these lead guys as well. So we could very, very quickly find ourselves with a four-way fight for the lead of this race.
Yeah, I'd say that that's where we're at the moment. These guys have broken away from the rest of the field. Slight mistakes for Braden Miller and Josh Barry, pushing back the rest of the field behind. I also saw a mistake from Hayden Vickers, which has certainly made the battle for 7th quite interesting. Up the inside of Vickers comes Daniel Boyd, and slide job trading here. This is the battle. My goodness, so many cars involved in this. There's a four-way fight between Attard, De Bono, Lumsden, and Payton for the position behind us. Have a look at Joel Berkeley, Clayton Davies, and Braden Shute. They are running very tight here, coming into turns 1 and 2. Davies gets the run on Shute around the outside to try and get second place back. Can he get it done at turn 4 as well? He manages to secure it, but for how long? Braden Shute already showing his cards.
Yeah, he certainly is showing his cards. He's got a lot of pace at the moment, does it Shoot, trying to run that top side all the way through 3 and 4, right up against the outside wall, making it work, but it's on for the lead, side by side at turns 2. Clayton Davies around the outside of Joel Berkeley like nothing was there, in a very, very good move, but here comes Berkeley trying to get the move back out of 3 and 4, but not going to get the run. Now Shoot's going to try and get this move done as well.
Yeah, Shute trying to go for the over-under here on Joel Berkeley for second place. Goes to the inside and the slide job is there, but it looks like he's lost a bit too much momentum. Berkeley back ahead and into second as they start lap 33 of 40. We have got single-digit laps to go here at Cedar Lake, and it is Clayton Davies in control at the moment. The top 3 have broken away from everyone else, starting to fall. Berkeley. Oh my goodness, into the wall, and there was also a problem for Braden Shute. So Joel Berkeley back through now into second place. For how long though? Shute going for the over-under. We're on lap 35 now, and just enough room left on the outside for Joel Berkeley to scythe through on the outside. I was going to say that Darcy Wilson and Josh Barry are battling with each other hard for 4th behind. You'll be able to catch glimpses of them in the shots here, but with only 6 laps to go, I think we should keep our focus here on the battle for the top 3, because Braden Shute pressuring Joel Berkeley like nothing else. 5 laps to go here at Cedar Lake, and the slide job again from the number 76 is Berkeley in the wall heavily, and he's had to recover from that, fishtailing on the exit. It looks like Braden Shute won't have to worry about the incredibly successful driver of Joel Berkeley now. It's just him and Clayton Davies for the lead, but I don't think there's enough time to make that gap up unless there's another caution. Touch wood, 2 laps to go. What a fantastic drive it has been from Clayton Davies. He has faced off all sorts of pressure from all sorts of drivers. But it looks like, as he's going to get the white flag now, this is going to be a very popular victory here for Clayton Davies. Braden Shute getting into the wall across the start-finish line. That second place is not going to be under threat for him. Oh, actually it is. Josh Barry just taking second at the final hurdle there. But Clayton Davies out of turns 3 and 4. He wins the ODSE 360 Sprint Car Championships at Cedar Lake. What a fantastic drive from the number 50. He can add another trophy to the cabinet.
Yeah, he certainly can. A very, very well driven race by Clayton Davies to end up taking away the victory here today. He had to work for it a little bit when he was behind Joel Berkeley, but in the end it was him who managed to make it happen and end up taking away a very, very commanding win.
Fantastic stuff, and well, we did see our fair share of cautions. I counted at least 5, but ultimately we got a nice clean run to the end there, and Clayton Davies takes his spot in victory lane. Very well deserved. I think Josh Barry and Darcy Wilson are going to be happy with this as well as they pull up behind him. They took advantage of the problems for Joel Berkeley and Braden Miller on the final few laps. Berkeley actually fell down to 16th by the time they got to the line, which is a real shame for Berkeley considering how he was battling with this guy, Clayton Davies, for victory. We'll get a quick virtual racing school replay to see what happened to Joel Berkeley. He did end up tapping the wall in the final few laps, as we could see at the time, but unclear exactly what went wrong for him after that. So here is Joel Berkeley in the number 17, and there we go. He just fed it in a bit too late and got up into the wall for his troubles, and looks like he actually escaped out there. So not the best of ends to the day for Joel Berkeley, but here are the results. Clayton Davies by 2 seconds over Josh Barry, a commanding drive from the number 50, with Darcy Wilson completing the podium. Braden Miller in 4th place, with Braden Shute, who was battling for the lead with Berkeley and Davies, ending up having to settle for 6th. Daniel Boyd, Alex Attard, Max Lumsden, and Luke Payton rounding out the top 10.
And then you're going to go over the page, and Brad O'Brien's going to come home 11th in the end. Cameron De Bruin in 12th from the back of the grid as well. So very good drive from him. Dylan Bono 13th, Tyler Bish 14th. Brenton Hobson comes home at 15th as the final car on the lead lap, and the final finisher as well, with the fact that Joel Berkeley finished 2 laps down as a retiree. And then Blake Welsh, Shane Veld, Lachlan Bowbury, Harry Stewart, and then Clayton Tilley, Joseph Daly, Jane Russell, and Daniel Hardigan, the rest of your retirees.
Yeah, Daniel Hardigan only making it a lap in. That's a real shame for Daniel. He was set to compete very nicely in this race. But that's going to bring to an end the racing portion of this night. We're going to go into post-race now and chat to our top 3. The first driver to join us is our A main winner, Clayton Davies. Clayton, it seems that Cedar Lake is treating you well. You got a win in the 360 Power Series here last season, I believe, and now back to winning ways once again.
Yeah, it's good to see that I can, with the new tyre model, still be in form, and me and this track seem to have a good connection, and I respect it, and it somehow gives me good results. So yeah, to come back up on top, especially against having that ripper of a race against Berkeley and shoot and all them, yeah, I'm really stoked with actually being able to bring it home.
Just give us a little bit of perspective on these tyre model changes, because that is a new change for the sprint cars this season. How does it compare to the old one? What parts of the car's behaviour have changed?
Its reaction to like throttle input's a lot more realistic. So before you could kind of roll off into the corner and you could let the car kind of coast itself, but in real life, when you roll off of these things, they transfer weight back off and tighten up. So like you can't just go into a corner and let off and let the car kind of coast itself in. You kind of still have to keep some kind of car load into the car to keep the weight on the right side. And apart from that, it's just slowed us up in some tracks and sped us up there, but it's also opened us up to a lot better racing.
Yeah, as we could see tonight, it seemed that slide jobs were very popular out there, especially as the track evolved.
Yeah, definitely. It was like from what I could see around me and like just racing with Joel, it's like there was opportunities everywhere. It wasn't like once you get to a stage of like sim racing, it comes down to like there's just the one fast line. I'm glad that iRacing's kind of taken the step to provide us multiple racing lines, and I'd be the first person to say that I wasn't a fan when it first came on, but I think that's just the typical when you're used to something and someone doesn't want to get changed when they've finally got good at a certain thing.
Well, we've heard rumours that Oceanic Dirt Sim Events is looking to run another Sprintcar Championship later in the year in the 410 sprint cars. Can we expect you there? And how do you think you might go if it stays at Cedar Lake?
I will definitely be there. I support Brady and everything he does, and I'll always be at his events. Just see what time will tell. See how if I can keep my form up. A lot of these younger dudes and the newer comers are starting to really show some incredible speed. So whether or not I stay up the front's a story for later, I guess.
Well, we shall see. Certainly hope that you can stay up the front in the 410s. Before we let you go, Clayton, anyone that you'd like to thank, any shout-outs or sponsors?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Western Machine Shop, Atlantic Oil, P1 Performance Race Gear, AC Sports, Creaky Motorsports, SRT Australia, BK Design, CD Cinematography, ABR Setup Shop, and Alex for just helping me out so much with setups and honing my skills. Bunbury Kitchens, Locked On Lads podcast, Heatwave Designs, Slick Apparel, my newest sponsor, Jump On Board, Sydney Computers. They've been helping me out heaps lately. You guys for putting on like easily the best broadcast in the iRacing service, and Brady for putting on the league.
There's Clayton Davies, your champion of the Oceanic Dirt Sim Events 360 Sprint Car Championships. Next up, we've got our second place finisher here, Josh Barry, after a great fight back from that third place start. He stood by with Cam Dance.
Yeah, really, really good result in the end, and on the podium with probably a result you're really happy to get with the fact you gained a position as well.
Absolutely. I'll take second any day, especially running the Clayton at Cedar Lake. I know he's really quick there, so just messed up the start a bit. Was probably a bit too conservative and a bit too nice to a few drivers, and got swamped But as the track went away, I sort of found the line and I was reeling in the leaders pretty quick, just ran out of laps. Would have been nice to give Clayton a bit of a run there.
Now, obviously, these cars have had a tyre model update, so they're a little bit different to what they were formerly. Have you found it to be an improvement at all, and have you enjoyed it any yet?
Yeah, definitely enjoy it. Bit more realistic, bit more grip in the tyre module. So yeah, it's definitely fun. Opens up a few different lines, a few tracks have changed. So it's just spent a lot of time testing and trying setups and trying to figure these things out. And so far, we've had a few decent results. So we'll take that.
Well, we've heard that there is a possible murmuring that ODSE is going to make a comeback with a few different events and leagues possibly popping up in the not too distant future. We're going to expect you to be out on track in those as well?
Absolutely, yeah. ODSE is one of the best run leagues in Australia, if not the best. It's a shame they don't do as many race meets as they used to, but yeah, no, really excited to get back into some dirt leagues again, and if they fire up, it'll be you can count on me being there.
Well, before we let you go, just any thanks and any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah, big thanks to obviously Brady and ODSE for putting the show on, yourself and SimSpeed for broadcasting the event. You guys are world class. In terms of the team, since we've formed this high octane team, we've had nothing but really good results. So thanks to Brady, Nathan and Max from the team, Nathan 96 Designs who make a killer paint job, and Brady from BB7 Setups that supply us with the setups. And CD Cinematography, sorry, I should give him a shout out, Clayton.
Well, we have it, Reese. Reasonably happy second place man of Josh Barry, and I believe you're going to be standing by with our other finisher, Darcy Wilson.
I am indeed, the number 05 joining us in the commentary box here. Darcy started in 9th for the A main tonight. Coming out of the preliminaries on Thursday, did you think you'd end up fighting for the podium positions?
Not at all, really. I don't really race sprint cars a whole lot, and I've just recently started racing them a bit, and I'm actually starting to feel really comfortable in them. So I wasn't really thinking to finish on the podium, but I had the mindset of coming top 10, definitely.
Well, definitely seemed like a bit of a chaotic race out there with the number of cautions in the first half. What was your view on that? Just drivers being too aggressive in the opening stages?
Nah, I think it was just really close racing, to be honest. I've just been patient and waiting for the more towards the end of the race, because that's what the car was set up more towards.
Well, either way, came off to be a very profitable night for you, Darcy, so certainly it'll give you some confidence, considering you just said you don't race sprint cars that often.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a real big confidence boost, so I might have to race them a bit more now.
Well, you may very well get a chance if the rumours are anything to go by, a potential 410 Sprintcar Championship coming later in the year. But ODSE coming back, Darcy. It was a little disappointing earlier on in the year to hear that the league was going on a bit of a hiatus, but now it is back, and with potential events coming in the future, it looks like things are looking good for the AusNZ Dirt community.
Yeah, I'm really happy that it's back. It's a really good league, and Brady does a terrific job running it.
Certainly does. You won't find any disagreement from us here at SimSpeed TV. Well, Darcy, congratulations again on your podium. Before we let you go, is there anyone you'd like to thank for it?
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the boys at United Sim Sports and all their sponsors, Cush Clothing, United Race Gear, Brady for running a really good league, yourselves for putting on a great broadcast, and just everyone else that helps out.
That's Darcy Wilson there, P3 in the ODSE 360 Sprint Car Championship at Cedar Lake. What a night of racing, or what an afternoon of racing, I should say, we just had there, Cam. Certainly bodes well for the future of ODSE. And I'm so happy that we've actually got some events back here on the dirt side of things. Good times.
Yeah, certainly very, very good times ahead, and plenty of hopefully good events as well, with some different cars and different tracks all making an appearance. So looking forward to seeing what Brady has in the works and what we may or may not see in the future.
Yeah, make sure to stay tuned to our social media channels for any news on that front. Let's see what ODSE does. before the end of the year. A big thanks, of course, has to go to Brady Baldwin and ODSE for putting this event on, and for CD Cinematography and Sydney Computers for their support of this race night. Once again, it is Clayton Davies there in the number 50, who is your race winner tonight. I'm Reese Gardner. It was Cam Dance alongside me and Jay Kennedy on production. Will Clayton Davies be able to maintain this form in future events, whenever they may come? We shall certainly find out.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going in the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson. Anderson's up to him.
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, here we go. Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?